Right. Good morning. Maestro does reviews. Yo, Joel. Hey, man. How's it going? Just going to do good morning, Sammy. Just going to do a Q&A. So if you've got any questions, right, bear with me. Hold the line, caller. Hold fire. March, where are we? Right, I'm going to do... Just... bear with me. Right, there we go. Okay, right. Good morning. Finally catching a live. Yo, Jason, what's going on, dude? What time did you start your workout? I started at... Gosh, I started at about 7. Well, just before 7 this morning. I did. I was actually going to have a day off, but I just did a bit of compound movement today. So I just did a bit of rear shoulder press. What else did I do? I did some tri push downs. I did some forearms. I did some upper incline flies. I did 15 minutes on the bike, 15 minutes already on the cross trainer. I've done a few abs. I'm going to go back to abs. This is the last bit of cardio. Joel, huge fan. Any tips of an 18-year-old wanting to start a personal brand and sell AI services? I think really my go-to piece of advice for you would be at 18 years old is your network is going to be the key that unlocks any door. So I have a phrase that I always use is that you need to become a door opener. So it's great that you want to do sell AI services, which is great. I'm sure you're going to build an incredible business around that service, but because you're so young, you really want to build the foundations, and the foundations are your knowledge and your network. So I would go to loads of networking events. I would DM people. I would voice note people. People that are going to add value to you, people that are where you are. Where you want to be. And I would ask them for little tips and tricks. I'd just be mindful though of doing that. You don't want to ask too much, like you're sort of taking the pee. But a lot of people who have done pretty well are pretty giving in terms of they're quite happy to give free advice up to a certain point. And I would really just take your network very seriously, because when you have a network of very incredibly successful people, it becomes very easy to present yourself with opportunities and learn things. The other thing I would actually do is I would go and work for a startup company. So I don't know where you're based, but I would try and find a company that is in its first 2 years, and I'd see if you could get a position, even if you work for free for 3 to 6 months. Show your drive, show your determination. I would probably try and get into a sales role. But the great thing about working for a startup company is you'll be exposed to all different areas. Okay, you're from New Zealand. Oh, well, I don't know what the networking circles are like over there. So, obviously over here, London is a great place. to network. So I'm not overly sure. You'd have to tell me what New Zealand's like. If not, obviously, you don't have to be tied geographically. The great thing about social media is you can reach out to as many people as you want. There is a print and brand event. Oh yeah, in Birmingham on the 22nd of February. Go and speak to all these brands. Yeah, well, I would second that. I think he's going to struggle to get to Birmingham. But yeah, I mean, look, for anyone who's following me, you'll be aware that I run an events company and a finance business, but obviously I'm starting my first ever tech company. I don't know everything about tech, which is why we've built a team already. And I will be going to a lot of tech events in and around London, Manchester, Birmingham. There's a few up Birmingham way. Obviously, central London, there's a lot of tech investor meetings and breakfasts I can go to. So you got again, I use the phrase, you've got to be a door opener. 26, just graduated in mechanical engineering in Canada. I like physics a lot. Any advice on what I can build for myself with this, like tutoring or create digital learning guides for passive income? Yeah, you've just said it. I'm just going to confirm what you've just said. What I'd like you to do, what was your name? So the 26-year-old, what was your name, man? And then thanks so much for your advice. I'm a huge fan, love your content and aspire to escape the rat race within the next few years. Awesome, good. I like the fact that you said next few years. Well, look, Joel, I'm going to take a punt and I'm going to assume you've got no major overheads. I'm going to assume you've got no children and you probably still live at home with your mum and dad. So you're in a really, really good position and you should be taking all the risks in the world because you're so young and you've got time on your side. Take all the risks, all of them. Take loads of risks. Don't ever let anyone put you off as well. My son's going to be turning 13 this year, and I encourage him to take as many risks as possible and to really think outside the box, which he does at 13-year-old. As a 13-year-old, he does, which is great. So my name is, oh gosh, here we go, Kavidev. There we go. Kadidev. I don't know. One of them. I got it right. Kavidev. There we go. Or it could, yeah. There we go. I got one of them right. I would have said it. Anyway, I'm going to call you Cav. There we go. It's easier for me. Right, Cav. You just said it yourself. Programs, tutorials, step-by-step modules, consulting. Is there a software that you can build? Well, we don't have that type of attitude on my live. There we go. Just to let anyone know, any negativity, any misery, anything that I don't particularly like, I'm not going to reply to you. You're gone. And it'll be the last time you ever see my live. By the way, anyone that's sticking around, Cav, Joel, anyone, the metric, I believe, metrics, anyone for YouTube Live, if you could hit the thumbs up button, that'd be much appreciated. I believe that that's the metric that's monitored on the live. So if you are sticking around and you're going to ask questions, great, happy days. But do us a favour and just hit that like button. Yeah, Joel, and that's another thing to learn. Family, friends, any negativity, nip it in the bud. Straight away, nip it in the bud. Right. So going back to Cav, is there a software you can build? Is there an application? Is there a problem solved within tech that you could build within what you've done? I would look at your industry as a whole and what was one of the common problems that you have. Let me just reply to this, 2 seconds. Right. Yeah, so that's what I would do. I would look at your industry and just figure out, where's there a gap, where's there a problem, can you create a solution? The other thing that I would do, and I don't know if I can share it on screen, I don't know, I know I can do it on, right, let's have a look at effects. Oh, I'm not going to play around with it now. I know I can do it on TikTok, but have a look how YouTube is going to change the game over the next 2 years. Look at all the mainstream TV channels. Look at celebrities that are drying up on programs and films and, you know, TV, soap, all dramas, all these kind of things where people are realizing that work's drying up on mainstream TV. The older generation are leaving the earth. So there's this big shift onto YouTube. YouTube's already announced that it's obviously going to be competing with the likes of Amazon Prime, Netflix. YouTube is going to have this whole new section where it's going to be like you can create your own docuseries. And if your docuseries around whatever topic niche you talk about starts performing well, that will then be moved onto the main For You page. Not specific to niche of what people watch, but it will actually be shown to most YouTube subscribers. So there's all these future plans on how YouTube really is going to be almost like the mothership of brands and businesses being built, sustainability, you know, all this kind of great stuff that's on the horizon. So so CAV, there's some CAD programs, but most are high level, competitive, and have very few client potential. I'm planning to build mainly for lower grade students. Okay, so what I would do, Cav, is I would instantly open up your own brand, your own entity, right? Your umbrella of whatever you're going to build as a brand and a business. And I would literally start from beginner level, and I would do some quick research on what is out there in terms of tutorials. And I would start from beginner level all the way up to more experienced and, really taking it up the levels in what you know. And I would do like 1 to 2 hour tutorials of deep dive breakdowns of exactly how you do what you do, how to do it, how people can learn. And that's how you're going to start building a brand and a business that separates yourself from everyone else, and don't gatekeep. And then what I'd be doing is I'd be proving validation on the likes of Instagram. I'd be doing obviously the lot of short form on TikTok to give you wide organic exposure, and then constantly asking for feedback in the comments on what people want to know, what people want to learn. And then you want to start taking that as data, and then you want to start building things from what the feedback starts coming in. But again, also for you, Cav, network, collaborate, like partner up with companies, try and get sponsors on board, position yourself commercially so that you can get paid brand deals, so that a software company can sponsor one of your videos, or, you know, you can do a brand deal where you can endorse a certain type of software, or, you know, whatever it might be. Do a case study where you teach someone to become a full stack engineer or something like that. I don't know, think outside the box basically is what I'm saying. Hey Aaron, any advice on a lost recent graduate? Job market is tough and I'm not sure what direction to go. I did a bachelor's in supply chain but didn't particularly like it. Love your channel, thanks. Okay, cool. Well, the tech company that I'm building is in supply chain and logistics and distribution, so that's cool. I suppose my first question to you is, what do you want to do? That's where all of this starts. What do you actually want to do with your life? You know, start from the very beginning. What do you want to do? That's the first question we've got to really answer. Forget about a certain type of career. Forget about forget about all of that. What is it that would actually make you happy? What would you want to do? You know? And then we go from there. I'm learning AI automation, want to build lead qualification services, and I'm assuming assign them or send them to businesses. I also love motorcycles and want to create content of me building my way out of. Yeah, so Joel, and this also goes for everyone else, you want to do two things. Yo, how's it going, Ahmed? You want to do two things. You want to build your brand and your business. That's number one. And then part number two is you want to document all of it. You need to document all of it. The reason being is you're going to have two types of people that will watch you. A viewer who is a potential customer and they want to buy your services. They're just not quite ready. They don't want to be the guinea pig. They want to see you. They want to see you formalize. They want to see proof of concept, but they're going to watch you until they buy your services or products. And then the second type of customer that is going to be a viewer of yours, all of ours, is the people that want to do exactly what you want to do. And that comes from your documenting the journey. So you want to make sure that you document everything. Just like what I'm doing with the tech company, we're documenting the entire journey. So yes, we're building this tech company and it's going to have a service and it will be a product base, but we're also showing how we're building the tech company and we're showing all the good, the bad, the ugly. So then we're going to have two types of people that are going to follow this journey. The ones that end up using our services, and then we're going to have people that are going to reach out saying, I'd love to know, could you teach me also how to build my own tech company? So we'll have two types of customers. And also don't listen to people when they tell you things are oversaturated and it's not worth doing. Don't listen to any of these people because they haven't got a clue what they're going on about. And that all comes from a place of insecurity and a outright inability to actually do anything good with their life. Anyone that tells you not to do it or it's risky, I'd cut them off immediately, if you ask me. I wouldn't have. So, Alessandro, I don't really follow anyone, mate. So, yeah, I don't really follow anyone. So, but you're more than welcome to ask questions and get involved and all that good stuff. I'm here. I'm probably going to do this live for about another 15 minutes. So you're more than welcome to fire off questions. Also, I did put a bit of a question out to everyone on my recent YouTube post about what kind of content style do you like? Is it the walk and talks out in the country? Do you like the raw, punchy car videos? Do you prefer the sit down videos where I'm just sort of front facing at the camera? Or I did do one video where I sat down at the bottom of my garden and I had the fire going. That was pretty cool. Thanks, Aaron. I really look up to you. So thanks so much for your advice. Means the world. Also, anytime. Avoid the naysayers. Absolutely. Cut them off. Don't have anything to do with them. Bin them off. That's why we've got bins. We put rubbish in bins, right? That's what they're there for. Okay, here we go. Ireno, what is that your name? Ireno, I've gone for it. When you quit your job at it's 27, what did you do next? Well, I'd already built a finance business. So for those of you who don't know, I was able to quit and leave my job because in my 20s, so I had my son at 20. I literally just turned, I was 19, turning 20. My son came into my life, popped in. Already had the traits. I won't go over from the very beginning, but I already had entrepreneurial traits. That was my character from a very young age. I then didn't really know what I wanted to do. I tried different things. I've always done little bits and bobs to make money here and there. I was working it wasn't a 9 to 5. It was a 4 on 3 off, and I did 10-hour shifts, and I worked from 1 till midnight. And I tried lots of different things. I started hey, how's it going, Max? I started an eBay selling business where I sold like junior clothes and Hunter Wellies. I sold Louis Vuitton, Ralph Lauren, Ted Baker, Hugo Boss. I sold all these like junior clothes, stuff like that. I then went into a wedding business. This was all while I was working. I was just trying many different ways to make money. I then went into what's called like now serviced accommodation in property with an old business partner of mine. Yo, AD, morning. And then after all of that kind of being very intensive and something I didn't really enjoy, I started to commit to networking. And I've put this in videos, but I'll go over it briefly. I met a guy in London, specifically in Mayfair. I didn't even know where Mayfair was at the time because I'd never actually really been into central London. And I went to a meeting with a friend of mine who was raising money. And I couldn't believe the conversation that I was listening to in terms of how much money he was raising, which at the time seemed a lot of money to me back then, but he was only raising 200,000 from angel investors. And a guy who was raising the money for him is classed as an introducer, so like a broker. Anyway, he was the one raising the money. And this guy drove an Aston Martin. And I happened to say to him, he was like 26, maybe 27, something like that, 28 tops. I said to him, you know, what are you doing to drive that? And he said, I do brokering, where basically he raised money from angel investors, institutions, family offices. And I just basically said, how do you do that? And he said, well, I've got a great network here in London. I know a lot of people, and when someone needs to raise money, I go and find the money. He then connects A to B. And from that moment onwards, that was probably around about 21, 22, that kind of changed my life at that point. So I went on a journey of building an incredibly powerful network of very wealthy people. And the rest is history. I started raising a lot of venture capital. I started raising what's called senior debt and junior debt. I then started to get really good at raising money. I built a great network. And the commissions that I was making were very high commissions because it was in a unregulated market. And then I saved and I cash stacked a lot of that money. I was then able to buy my assets because of the amount of money that I generated in my 20s. I built a hell of an emergency fund, a floating fund, a maintenance fund. I was able to invest in the likes of stocks and shares, commodities, bonds. Yes, I went into some speculative stuff as well. I did some private lending myself to friends and other corporations. And obviously all this was happening in my 20s, which compounded quite nicely. Mix that in with the fact that I've never been a big spender. And by 27 years old, I was able to shut my laptop at work and I walked out and I never went back. And then, you know, here we are. Okay, so yeah, so that answered that question. Max, I'm doing very well, mate. Just going to finish my cardio. Good morning. Dow Roche, I'm going to go for Roche or Roche. If you've got a username and you want me to say your name, by the way, I'd rather call you by your name. I just need you to tell me opposed to calling out the usernames. Good morning, Aaron. Thanks for giving me the drive this last week. Amazing. Love that. Same goes to you, mate, in terms of your name. Darren, cool. I'll remember that. I'm good at remembering names, which is why I ask. All right, bear with me. Two seconds. Right, there we go. Sorry about that. That's quite nice to know. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of videos on it, but obviously not everyone catches, not everyone will see all the videos with the details. Can you talk more about your debt purchasing and collection next time in more detail? Can you talk more about your debt purchasing? What do you mean in terms, Sammy? What do you mean in terms of debt purchasing and collection? Do you mean the transactions of raising the money? Is that potentially what you mean? Because if so, I can happily answer that now. Kristen, hey, how's it going? Thank you for sharing your story. Kind of a specific question. What do you do for health insurance? Do you have? Yeah, I do. So I pay for private health insurance. Yeah. So this is one that always shocks me a little bit, and I don't really know why it's a thing, because this comes up quite a lot. More so, I think, from the Americans, is that I'm always asked, yeah, but Aaron, if we go and work for ourselves, what do we do about the benefits of like health insurance and all this kind of stuff? And I just think you just go and get a monthly insurance. I never really understand why it's a big thing, because health insurance for an individual, really, obviously depending on your health conditions, obviously, like, but let's say you have no health conditions but you want to take out health insurance here in the UK, you are literally talking anywhere from £29, 29.99, let's say, up to £70 a month. Now, what gets me is most people go out for have takeaways, or go out for restaurant meals, or go down to the pub, or spend it on fags and booze, and or even class C or class B or A, things that they shouldn't be putting in their system. So I never really understand why it's a thing when people say, well, what do you do about health insurance? And private healthcare it's not expensive. When you look at how much people spend in the shops and financing cars, and how much they spend on holidays and credit cards, I never get why health insurance is considered expensive. Again, it's all just priorities of where people spend their money. You have a mention in my video dropping today. Oh, amazing. Great. Love that. Genuinely inspired me to get my arse in gear. Amazing. Had a few mentions in videos, and yeah, it's lovely. Look, my purpose is, as I use the quote, life by design. So if I can help you, or if I can give you the push to start doing something for yourself, and remember, my message isn't to say everyone needs to run a big empire and doing multi-millions of pounds and being super super successful. My core message is not to be controlled, and not to spend 3,800 weeks of your life, over nearly 3/4 of your life, serving someone else. That's my message. I want people to live. I want people to experience things with their children and live life at a younger age, rather than start living, what they call the golden years, when you're 70 years old and you're all old and broken and decrepit, and you've got arthritis and your back hurts and your knees are screaming at you. Right. I might have misheard you. I thought you said you purchase regulated debts. Oh, okay. No, so maybe you were referring to, maybe you mean when I said about like government bonds. So yeah, I'll invest in government-backed schemes. That's one of my sort of asset classes. Is yeah, government bonds, which I suppose is maybe what you're referring to. Well, I don't really, I've got to be honest with you, I'm fairly neutral with everyone. I don't really have opinions of people. I actually do know Mark personally. So I knew Mark before he was, a big time on YouTube. So see you later, mate. Let me just get out the gym first. Oh my God. Let's get in the car. So, oh, hey to you in Ukraine. Yeah, I got to be honest. I stay away from having opinions. I don't get caught up in emotions or feelings in terms of what I think of other people. I just very much stay in my own lane, because otherwise, I always avoid drama basically. And as soon as you have, this is why I talk about it in, in regards to, just 2 seconds. In regards to, hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah, I don't have opinions of people, because when you have opinions, it can be taken one way or the other. I'm just very neutral. I stay in my lane. And obviously I talk about that in terms of the workplace. If someone comes up to you, for example, and says, what do you think of so and so? The best thing to do is just say, I don't want to get involved. I don't have an opinion, because then no one can leverage information against you. It's like Simon Scribb's a friend of mine. Simon Scribb I've known since 2000 and I don't know, 2016, 2017. I knew Simon before he was, as big as what he is. And people say to me, what do you think of Simon? Well, Simon's been a friend for many years, but I also don't say what I do and what I don't, Again, I suppose this ties into a deeper message in what we could talk about is stay in your lane and do what, do your own thing, like focus on you. Yo, Steve, how's it going, man? Awesome. Great. Yeah, Simon's awesome. I've got photos of me and Simon from years ago when I had an office in London. He came up. Simon came up to my office many years ago when I first got it. It was like a bit of a proud moment for me. Let's have a look. Where's Mr. Squibb? Sure, he is around here somewhere. Oh, here we go. So if you go, I'll flip the camera around. Yeah, so I had this. Well, it was a beautiful office in I don't know if you can see that. There's me, and we had a good laugh. He came up. That was when he came to visit me in the office. So that was great. Ugh. Okay, let's start making a move. Good morning. You're into network marketing? Great. The only thing I would say about network marketing, make sure you're just building something for yourself. Stephen, so it's a mix really. I don't really have one main thing, because it's really diversified now, which is really nice. Again, this ties into a video of what I did the other day. If anyone watched my walking and talking videos in the country, is the great thing about building something for yourself is you don't have to have a singular thing that you identify or use to explain what you do. So my answer is, Stephen, I still hold a lot of investor clients within what I do within my finance work, within my finance business. My personal brand, which is a very big business now, it has a full team, it's full time for me, has turned into multi six figures. So that is one of the biggest things for me right now. The events company, which I've been running for about 4 years now, it's probably 4 years now, I believe. That's a big part of what I do. I mean, we launched our first ever B2B. It was a commercial launch in November the 19th, in one of the most iconic hotels in the UK. We had over 700 people. We had billionaires, we had TV personalities, big viral creators, guest speakers. We had a BBC Dragon's Den, Sarah Willingham, who joined us for the evening as well, who was one of our keynotes. So that's a big part of what I do. But then the tech company, which we started June the 1st, we opened up that company. That's in logistics and distribution. So that's really cool. That's a three-tier type of technology which will serve the retailers, the courier, and the end user, which is the customer, which will have its own unique application, features, tools, USPs, all that good stuff. So we're building that business at the moment, which is where a lot of my time and energy is put into, pretty much every day, including weekends. But it's built around work-life balance, of course. And then obviously I have my two programs which fall under nightly education, which is its own umbrella, and also that has things such as my books on Amazon, that has my products in terms of my planners, evaluation sheets that we sort of distribute to people who are within one of the memberships or the programs. So the answer is a lot, and there's no real main one. It's coming in from lots of different angles. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight, Stephen. And then if someone said to me, "Well, Aaron, what's your title?" I don't have one. I'm just Aaron Knightley. So finance can be, yeah. The hardest thing I found for me personally is breaking the barrier. I don't know if you've been here since I was explaining earlier, Stephen. I don't know if you were here when I was explaining how I left my job, but one of my biggest battles is obviously I have tattoos, and for me to break into a certain type of circle in central London can be. It was, well, it's not. It can't be. It was difficult for me to begin with because obviously I actually used to. So this is something I actually don't talk a lot about. But back in the day, I've never been conscious about my tattoos, and I don't regret any of my tattoos because they all have a deep meaning to me. But I did used to wear a turtleneck, believe it or not, all year round, even in the height of summer, when I was building certain relationships, because the turtleneck would cover my neck tattoo, and I used to think that I might not build a certain type of investor relationship if on the first meet I showed all my tattoos. Now, my knowledge and education within what I was doing, raising investment, overlooked that, and actually it never became a real thing. And now, because of my network and because of what I do and the name that I've built for myself, I don't worry about that, or I don't have to think about it at all. I could go into central London wearing shorts and a t-shirt and still close a big investment deal. But that wasn't always the case. So yeah, it was tough to get into, but once I found my feet, it was amazing. But finance is highly pressured, and also I did have a lot of sleepless nights. So you have to have quite thick skin if you're going into an industry where you're raising money. And I was raising a lot of money. So yeah. Again, to answer the question of what do I think of people, I don't really answer those questions because it doesn't really concern me or my life. So, yeah, sorry to disappoint on the, what do I think of people, but I just don't get involved in other people because, again, what I think or what I don't think, it doesn't really affect my life. So, yeah, that's kind of my answer on all opinions of people. Also, just a bit of advice from me: don't ever spend time or energy thinking too much about other people, and never hate anyone, because that uses energy. It also takes up time because it's using energy, and we haven't got all the time in the world. So I really don't concern myself with anyone else, to be honest with you. What I do and the industry that I'm in is obviously somewhat of a selfless act, because when you're adding a lot of value, you're basically, you are serving, and you want to make sure that you help other people. So there's that element. But I never go too deep in terms of what do I think of people, or am I overly bothered about what other people's opinions are. I never really have been bothered about any of that. Which is why I don't mind doing content, which I know could, you know, potentially upset people at times, or at least trigger them. So, right, I'm just going to scroll up. I created a sportswear business 18 months ago as a side hustle. I'm jumping ship from the workplace slavery next 2 months. Dude, I love that. I sell products and I'm growing my customer base daily. Great. Make sure you're always collecting data as well. Make sure you've all got data forms. You need a good CRM system. All of you need you need a great CRM system. There we go. We don't engage with silly people. Do you have any advice on where to start in finance? I've got no experience in this sector. Well, you'd have to tell me what it is you actually want to do, Stephen, for me to kind of give you an answer. Because there's so many things that you can do in finance. It really depends on what it is you actually want to do, mate. I created a sports web. Oh, I've done that one. Ahmed, pleasure, my man. Yeah, well, I've used a lot of CRM systems. I've kind of tested and played around with many. I do like Wix. I still pay for a lot of software that I don't actually use, but I would say the best software that I've used, and actually you can go on to any video description and you can get a 30-day free trial to test it out. Go High Level is great. So I've used ClickFunnels with MailChimp, Zapier. I've used obviously Wix CRM system, which I do like, but I think for best price and an all-in-one, I would say Go High Level is spot on. And you can get a 30-day free trial. Again, you've only got to go to any of my videos on YouTube, go to any of the descriptions, and it will say 30-day free trial. They are brilliant. That does SMS, email marketing, social media integration with workflow systems, easy to set up triggers, client management, client progress, full reports on where people are in the customer journey and the workflow journey, easy to set up timers. Newsletters are great. Website builders are great. The AI, the built-in AI in Go High Level is amazing. And I will say their customer service support is absolutely second to none. There hasn't been a customer service support that has been as efficient, as quick responding, and easy to deal with as Go High Level. Wix is okay. I do not like dealing with GoDaddy's customer service. I have to say that's one of the most painful services to use is GoDaddy's back-end customer service support. We use things like, well, I can tell you the software that I use as well. Like other software that I use is something called Slack. We use ClickUp. What do I use? So I've got QuickBooks, Zoom, Percentages, PayPal, Fiverr, Shopify, Google Drive, Calendly, ChatGPT, Wix. I use Canva, FreePick, obviously Captions, Opening app. That's a great one that all of you should have. Bitly, if you haven't got a Bitly, everyone needs a Bitly. Linktree, you all need a Linktree. What else do I use? I think that's mainly it for sort of software on my phone. I got a load of other stuff on my laptop, but that's what I keep on my phone. Right, raising small investments. Well, it depends how small. Stephen, give me a figure. Appreciate the engagement this morning, mate. Pleasure. Appreciate the engagement this morning as well. Very cool. Pleasure's all mine. Never a chore. But I've got literally like 1 more minute and then I'm going to shoot. So if you have any final questions, just fire them out. I'll be filming some new videos this week. I think I am going to do another country walk and talk video. I think I'm going to do something slightly different this week. It will be more around the whole mindset of all of this. 100k. Okay, so it's not a huge amount of money. You're probably talking. Okay, last question, Stephen. What's it for? What are you using this 100,000 for? And then I'll give you my best answer before I've got to go. Because I've got to go have my protein shake now. The next live, I might do one later. Okay, sports clothing. All right, I'll give you my honest answer. So, and obviously this is guesswork, right? Because I don't know your situation. Okay, so Stephen, there's a few things you need to think about before you raise money. Is number one, and this is coming from someone who has worked with many angel investors. I'm currently raising 600,000-700,000 in angel investment at the moment. We've raised 160,000 so far. So, and I'm very well connected, but it's still a tough game. So number one, Stephen, if you're raising for a clothing brand, you have to have an impeccable pitch deck. You have to have an incredible business plan with a complete broken down projection forecast of where this money is going, what the business model looks like. You also need to break down when are investors. Are you in the UK or US? That's a final question. Yeah, hopefully I'll be back later. We'll see. Hey Marie, how's it going? Yeah, are you UK or US, Stephen? Okay, so you need to register. You need to apply through Gov UK for SEIS and EIS, which is an investor scheme, basically, where SEIS allows up to, I believe, the first 250,000 for investors to claim back 50% of their tax. So essentially, if they're lending you 100,000, they could claim back up to 50%. And then once the 250,000 is full up, they would then move into the EIS scheme, which I believe goes up now to, I think it was 5 million and now it's up to about 12 million, and they can claim back on 30% of their investment. So all investors will want to see you with advance assurance of the SEIS scheme. So that's the first thing that you need to do if you're going down this route, is you need to go onto Gov UK. You need to register your limited company, because it will need to be a limited company for SEIS. You can't do it as a sole trader. Angel investors won't lend you that money without that, because it obviously mitigates their risk. The other thing is you're going to need to leverage that 100k against something, because if you don't have a brand, if you don't have credibility, if you don't have proof of concept, an investor will say, well, if we're putting up what's called venture capital, how are we protecting our money to a certain degree? Who are you, and why should we be lending this money, and who's taking the risk? Typically, if you don't have a brand, Stephen, you don't have assets that you're willing to put on the table, e.g. Your property, a rental property, you have a Rolex which is 45 grand, you have a car that you'd be willing to put as collateral. If you don't have any assets, typically an angel investor will want you to put in anywhere between 5 and 15% sweat equity. So basically they'll want you to put in that money to, again, know that you're in the game. And then you're going to need to have the most incredible pitch deck. You're going to need to have a very watertight, robust, resilient pitch deck that paints the picture of where this company's going to go and when are they going to get their money back. That's why I've got to be honest with you, Stephen. I don't think you should be raising money for your clothing brand. What I think you should be doing is you should be building a brand online. I think you should be setting aside capital yourself from your salary, and over the next 6 months try and set aside 3-4 grand, whatever you can set aside, and I would try and do things very uniquely and with a creative spin on how you can build a waiting list and get deposits for your clothing brand, because people are excited for your launch date. Have a waiting list, which obviously, going back to, you need a CRM system to collect data and then obviously outbound your marketing to those people. And then with the deposits that you're taking, I would then start to lay that down with the money that you saved to then put in pre-orders, or maybe you start off as print on demand. I don't know. I could keep talking about this, Stephen. There's so many variables, but I've got to be honest. I don't think you need to be raising money for a clothing brand. It's more that there's margins, there's tight margins, and launching a clothing brand, like we have a clothing brand which is Peak Performance. So, you know, I have a print on demand business, which actually I forgot to mention to you, Steve. We do jumpers, we do hats, we do vests, gym vests, you know, all different joggers, women's clothing, you name it. We do all of it with Peak Performance. Big breast, the small breast, all different colours, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think you need to raise money, mate. I think it would be a lot of effort, and there's a lot of hoops to jump just to start a clothing business. You're better off just getting really creative, building and marketing your brand online, and then just collecting deposits of people who are committed to being a customer when you go live. We could keep going with this. Like, don't get me wrong. We could map it out to the point where there would be a plan in place, but we'd be here all day. Love to Amsterdam. I studied there and it was the best time of my life. Love it. Greetings from Berlin. Awesome. You're in Berlin. That's cool. After every task, I take a break from 15 minutes or more. I take so much breaks after every task. Awesome. Good on you. Okay. Yo, Ian, how's it going? Ian, you've just caught us on the back end. Everyone, listen, I'm going to make a move. I've got to get some post-workout meal in me. Have my protein shake. And then, although it's raining, it's absolutely peeing it down here in the UK, I am going to go watch my son play football now. So I bid you a farewell. New videos coming this week. Anyone that gets a chance, on my latest YouTube post, you can tell me what your preference for my content style, and I will start doing more of whatever your preference is. So if you prefer me when I do the car videos where I'm quite punchy on my opinion and it's more raw, if anyone's watched my car videos, they're quite raw. They definitely trigger a lot of people who have got insecurities, that's for sure. Or do you prefer the face, you know, sitting down where I just face the camera and talk, or the walking and talking in the country? Anyway, if you do have a preference, I'd love for you just to hop onto my YouTube post. You can pick 1, 2, 3 or 4 or a couple and just let me know. It's just good feedback for me. I'm just going to go get dressed and changed and sorted to watch my son play football. Also got a lovely home, like a coffee machine at home now, so I'm also going to have a coffee. Yo, hey man, how's it going? No, I'm not. No, don't creep me out, because if you creep me out, okay, you're creeping me out. Right, Ahmed is gone. He was getting weird. So, by the way, I've said this before, but Ahmed was kind of okay. but then if he started getting weird, so same for anyone else. If you're odd, if you're bizarre, if you say silly things to me, if you're weird, or if it just doesn't sit well with me, I block you from my channel, and then you don't see my videos or my live ever again. I'm very much that kind of guy. Is I just don't muck about. Ahmed seemed okay in the beginning, but then he got weird at the end, so he's gone. Start saying stuff like, you want to see where I'm going. That's weird. Okay, anyway, Stephen, well, I'll answer your questions when I'm next live. Walking and talking posts. Great. Okay, I'm going to make a move. Peace out. Enjoy your day, and I'll catch you soon.